enjoying Med Week? So I just got caught earlier using all these acronyms, and that's something I tell my entrepreneurs not to do. So I'm going to correct myself. So OKC Med Week stands for Minority Enterprise Development Week. And this week we've had an amazing series of events, networking opportunities, educational workshops, all to help highlight, empower, and educate minority-owned businesses in Oklahoma City. And I want to give a shout out to the OKC Med Week Committee for doing all the hard work that we So my name is Rajita Ghosh. Should have started with that. And I work as a venture advisor, so I'm really passionate about the entrepreneurship space because I help Oklahoma companies build, launch, scale, and get funding for their businesses. But I also have really, really, really cool friends. And Sundeep and I were just kind of brainstorming, and we were like, we have this amazing talent in our community with artists and musicians and other forms of art, podcast hosts and others. And these are stories that need to be shared because when it comes to community, when it comes to economy, that artist community is at the heart of it. When people come from out of state, that's like one of the first things people ask about. So we need to learn how to celebrate and also know how to support our artists. So that is kind of the gist of this panel. And I do want to give a quick shout out to Stride Bank for helping sponsor this event, and a huge shout out, and please join me, to Angel for hosting us here. Alright, so with that, I'm going to stop and hand it over to the Rockstar panel and to Sundeep to kick us off. Alright.
Thank you. DJ Man, take it over.
Thank you. Welcome everybody. Super excited. We have a very talented panel here. I was excited. When I saw the names, what I was telling them, I was excited because they've all been on my podcast. So super excited. Super cool. If they've been on the pod, you can rest assured they've been vetted. They're cool. So, before we get started, I want to let them introduce themselves. So I always say, for the 1% of the people out there that don't know who you are, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hi everyone, my name is Lauren. I'm a citizen Potawatomi and I'm from Norman. I'm a visual artist and I do a little of this and a little of that, and it's just a pleasure and an honor to be here. Michael?
Lauren did not teach me how to speak that language that she did. So I'm just going to tell you, I'm Michael Uday. For an artist, you probably know me as Michael Cords, but I am the founder of Fanfare, and we are a social media application designed to help musicians to grow their fan base. So thanks.
Hello, my name is Jose Hernandez. I play in a couple of groups in the city. I'm a musician and artist. Yeah.
What's your band name?
Oh, Jay and the Bishops, and I am Chayo, my solo project.
Right.
New music about to drop.
Yeah, new music about that. Maybe next year.
Hello, namaste. My name is Sundeep. I'm an artist. I rap and sing in Hindi. I'm a producer from Oklahoma, originally from India. And I'm just so happy to be here and see so many beautiful faces. Thank you for coming.
Very cool. So I definitely have some topics I want to cover on my phone, but I'm a big fan of just having a conversation. So first question is, which Taylor Swift album do you identify with and why? No, I'm just kidding.
None of them.
Just kidding. I think the first question that I'm curious about is, what is your relationship with being a creative? Is it something that you struggle with? Is it something that you're okay with? We were talking before we got started, me and Sundeep, we kind of both play on the technical and the creative side. And I think there's pros and cons to that. Sometimes what we see is on the technical side, it's more rewarded as far as salary, as far as that sort of stuff. But creatives, you have to have creatives for the idea, right? You have to have an idea to get started. So whoever wants to take it away, what's your relationship with being a creative?
I guess I have the mic, so I'll start. It's a journey. I guess I would say I kind of go in and out of if I do enjoy music or not. And DJ Mav knew that there was a time in there last year that I actually didn't do music because everything kind of got a little bit too stressful as an artist. So the problem with being an artist, plus also having a full-time job, is you basically are draining yourself in the evening, because there's two aspects to it. As an indie musician, you are a manager and you are the artist. So you have to switch in your head when you are a manager and being, like doing the marketing side of things. You cannot be creative. At least I can. Other people might be more, have superpowers than I do, than they can, but I have to have that switch. So to answer your question, it's been interesting to be an artist. I think if I start looking at other artists, and let me go back to just where I come from from a culture where comparison is very normal. Like, you got to compare yourself to other people. Even in school, if your grades are not as good as the person next door neighbor, it's just like, what are you doing? Instead of saying that you are good where you are, let's see how we can improve. Instead of just saying, why aren't you that person? So that kind of got really ingrained in my head that I am not good enough. I need to be someone else that's better than me. And that was the essence of a lot of my struggles, is because I was trying to be something I'm not. And I am enjoying, at this point in time, thanks to beautiful people around me, and a lot of them are here. There's one right there, Kazi. People like Kazi and, Srijita and all the people that I know from back home, I didn't know them from back home because of Bangladesh. But people from Southeast Asia, there's that connection, and I started becoming a lot more culturally aware of where I'm from. So I always rapped and sang in Hindi, but these days I've been kind of becoming a lot more aware of the beauty of my culture versus the negative aspects of it. So I've been enjoying music a lot more right now. So in this current state, I'm enjoying music, to answer your question.
Just like Sundeep said, I feel like the relationship between being an artist and being a manager, or your technical side of it, is hard to handle. I actually even texted Sundeep earlier this week, and I was super bummed out about something that I've been struggling with as far as that's comparison. So it is kind of like a walk. You kind of have to be sure that you're sleeping well and eating well and stuff like that. But it can be a little difficult. And I think that's kind of a part of the, I don't like to promote the tortured artist thing. I think that's a little outplayed. But I do think that it is, a lot of the reason I think that we love to create is because that we believe that there's a part of us that we haven't really expressed very, honestly with our friends or our families and loved ones. So I think that part of that kind of torture artist scenario kind of plays out. So you're always either always hard on yourself, or you want to be honest but you don't know how to be honest. It's always just kind of an internal struggle. Personally for me, I have gotten better about turning that off on occasion. So and I have great friends that come around and are always there to support you. So which is a really good thing.
I think for me, it is a culmination of these things. You end up trying to put yourself in these specific categories. I think if no one ever told you were an artist or gave it that name, you would still be an artist. So I don't know that it's difficult for me to say, oh, it's hard to be an artist or not. We just are who we are, but creativity is an overflow. So what you actually get to see is what comes from out of someone, right? Internally, all the things already happened, and we just brought it out. And so I think you have to nurture the internal portion of you, and I think that's the hard part. That's the balance, because to really be an artist or somebody that has the ability to convey what you're trying to and bring what's in here up there, you have to take care of all the other stuff as well, and that changes. With the technological revolution, that has changed so much. That's changed for all of us, because now we're all swimming in content. You can create and disseminate great content in your basement, and so you look on TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, everywhere there's a bunch of content, so we're all kind of fighting to earn the right to be heard in a way. And so I think that if you manage your business well and treat yourself like you would treat anybody else's entity, you go to work and if you steal time, that's a problem. Treat yourself in that same manner and be disciplined about what you're doing. That's the hard part, I think.
So, I guess I'm going to take this conversation to a kind of deep spot, just because even though it's a difficult topic, whenever I answer this question, I think it's one that's important to reduce stigma around, so I try to be very open with it. But for me, being creative is quite literally something that my life depends on. I gave up my art for years and years. I was always a creative kid. Every time that I had the opportunity, I was drawing, I was sketching, I was getting in trouble for it in schools because I was like, drawing in the margins of my homework. That wasn't very appreciated. But I gave up my art for a variety of reasons for a long time. And in 2019, I was working in the car industry. I was switching from sales into finance. It was very high stress. And along with some other life things that were happening, I somehow drove myself into a place where I was attempting to take my own life. I went into the hospital, and the standard stay for that, if you're not familiar, is like 72 hours. They just want to like stabilize you and make sure you're like not gonna do that. And I was there for about 2 weeks. There's not a lot to do in the hospital during the days. So I started drawing again, just on copier paper. And it was through that I realized that art is not optional for me. It's something that I must do and must prioritize for my health. And since then, I created a pretty strong plan and ended up giving myself a year off from the workforce in 2021 to 2022 to just do nothing but paint. Everything that's in my current art career has come from that. And what I've learned through that is that my art practice must be a daily thing. It must be disciplined in that way, just like going to the gym or something is a discipline. It must be practiced. So I guess that's how I answer that as far as the relationship with creativity for me. It's for my health and it's not optional.
So there's a Spanish saying that says, "Nunca vas a ser profeta en tu tierra," which means you're never going to be a prophet where you're from. One of the things I always get frustrated with, and maybe it's just me, my friends sometimes will not share, or they won't like, but if Beyonce drops an album, everybody's like, "Oh my God, Beyonce, amazing!" Right? Who needs to like more, right? Beyonce, of course, everybody loves Beyonce, right? But how do you guys feel when your friends or whoever, you would think, hey, if I put something right, surely I've got like 400 friends that are following me. Surely 400 likes, right? But it just doesn't translate. So maybe it's they don't know how to support, maybe they don't know how to show love. But what do you guys feel about that?
Drop your handles. Also that. Now.
I guess I'll go first since I have to make this time. For me, I've gotten to a point where I quite literally don't care. And for me, the discipline of continuing to put it out there anyway is just part of the practice. It's for me, and it reaches who it's meant to reach. I've also encountered, as a Native artist and one that does very contemporary work, I'm in a lot of spaces where people expect cowboys and Indians art, and they don't really know how to receive what I'm doing, and I'm not the only artist that encounters that. And so for me, it's been getting over myself and putting myself out there anyway, even in spaces where I know, like, a lot of my elders in the tribe aren't going to get my art, and they don't. Or, like, a lot of people that I run into in these, like, gallery spaces, they don't get it, and that's okay. The point is to put it out there anyway, because the more that we put it out there, the stronger that it's going to be. And are we dropping handles? My handle is laurenkelly.art, LAURENKELLY.ART. That's also my website. It's .art instead of .com. Okay.
Love it. So I'll do the handle thing first. I would much rather you follow Fanfare's page than my musician handle because, Fanfare is doing things to help everybody, I think. And it is at FANFAIR_APP, Fanfare app. But I have kind of an unpopular opinion on this topic, and it is that I live my life by three major principles, and one of them is not everybody is supposed to understand what you're doing.
That's right.
I think we have this mania for trying to force people to see our entire advantage, but the truth is, if God has called me to something specifically, if it called everybody else to it, then I would no longer be unique in that, right? It's no longer my lift, right? And so if it's my lift, then I can't be frustrated with people for not wanting to help me in that lift until I show them a reason to help me, right? Like, not everybody is supposed to create a wave. Some people just want to ride a wave, and you can't be mad that they all showed up when the wave showed up because you wouldn't have built the wave if you didn't want them to ride it, right? So at one level, it's on me to create something that you care about, and then when you see me moving in that direction, you're going to naturally want to come and help build on that. So it actually doesn't affect me negatively. It actually calls out something internally within me to say, okay, go to level 2.
Yeah, I would say that personally. I try not to care. Me and my wife talk about that all the time. We're always like, man, it's funny how we'll post something and and we'll get 2 or 3 likes, and then we just got married. We posted. Oh, thank you very much. Sorry. My bad. Didn't mean to curse. But yeah, like so. Our photo got like 400 likes, so which is fantastic. We got great friends that support us. I think the main point I think is that you shouldn't care. I think at some point you are an artist, and that's the only real leverage you have is that to just create something, and if people like it, they'll like it. If they don't, they don't, and that's fine. And then if they're not into it, they're not supposed to be. So.
I'm in a lot of different places. Some days I care, some days I don't. And I think I'm going towards not really caring because I feel like, there's also a different way of caring. I like how Michael said it, it's like you're creating something unique. But a part of me back there is just like, it's good and people, should hear it. But at some point, I also need to be very true to myself and create things around it that people, like events like this and events like, release parties where people actually come and see who I am. I think that's also important because, and that's how, again, 100,000 songs are released every day on Spotify. So it's one of those things like money makes money. But a friend of mine who did a music video with me, Natasha, she said something really interesting because she's a dancer. And I asked her the same thing. It's like, how do you deal with the whole likes and comments and who's looking at your stuff? And she said that as far as people are, even 5 people are looking at it and they get something out of it, I think I've done my job, in a way, because those 5 people are affected by what I do. And some days I do like it, and some days I'm like, I want to have more followers. Come on, dude, But I'm getting to a point where I'm okay with just doing what I do and loving what I do. And when I've realized that when I do something with full, all my heart, and I put everything into it, people do reciprocate. So I've noticed that too. So it's like a double-edged sword, right? You can't care too much because then you are not making your true art. And then there's another side of it, like you can't be too into yourself. So you gotta have that balance of, like making sure you're marketing it properly, but also creating what you love. And right now I'm in the mode in life where I'm just creating what I love. And no matter how many people listen to it, I'm just happy for it.
How do you guys feel about the label content creator? Because I feel like there's a lot of stigma behind it. But unfortunately, it's the world that we live in, right? It's almost like we're all content creators, and then we do whatever we do as a profession, right? You have to put your work out there. So how do you guys feel about being a content creator?
You want me to do it? I've come to make peace with it, I think, slowly but surely. But I do, it's just a weird concept. Like your entire life, everything you do day in, day out, the breakfast you make, whatever happens in between that, it's all supposed to be content. I just feel like that's such a insane idea. I mean, I don't think that we're supposed to be sharing all of that, with random strangers or even our friends, honestly. I think that, I think it's weird. But also at the same time, it's there. It's a machine. It's not going to go anywhere, I don't think, anytime soon. So I think it's just something you have to kind of live with. It is, especially as an artist, I mean, any art you do, whether it be music or visual or dancing or acting, it's like that's all a part of it. You have to be able to show that creative side to as many people as possible. But I think it's a weird way. It's definitely something weird that we're gonna, I think, as humans, have to like get past and go back to really something a little bit more genuine. So that's just me. Did you want to?
I want to think on it more.
Kind of to the thing I said previously when we started, if nobody in this room comes and says, Michael, you're an artist, I'm going to make art. Like, I'm going to do things. If nobody in this room comes to me and says you're a content creator, I think we all see the problem in certain levels of the creative industry as a whole. I think we talked about this, Shajita, like the creative industry represents $15.5 billion in annual dollars in revenue made, but content creators see less than 1% of that money. And it's because the conversation's all wrong, right? And in order to change the conversation, you have to change the words that you're using. So I don't care if somebody calls me a content creator. I'm never going to call myself that. You're also rarely going to see me call myself an artist. If you ask me about the kind of art that I do or the kind of music that I do, I'm going to tell you my influences and people that I think are really great, which is also another reason of, I think this conversation we're having shapes and affects everything that I do. I'm going to say this right now for everybody. If you send me something on Spotify, I don't pay for Spotify. If you send me something that's on some other platform that is streaming, I don't do it. And the reason I don't is because if you send me the song, I'm going to go buy it. Because once you buy the song, the artist gets the money from that, right? And it's because the engines that we've built, they're working perfectly. Like you said earlier, maybe the system is working the exact same way that it's supposed to work, but the creators didn't create that system. So it doesn't serve us, which means that we can't serve you. You've probably heard the term mainstream. All mainstream means is we're going to strip away any level of specificity so it can be palatable to more ears. So if I am somebody that is responsible for pushing out content, I'm going to look for content that I think is most widely palatable so I can line my pockets. That's terrible for the musician because I can't speak whatever is going on in my heart. That's terrible for the artist because I can't do and create what I think resonates with my soul. And that's terrible for you, the consumer, because you're dying for the specificity.
And it's limited.
And it's limited. You know, you talk to you find a young lady and ask her what her wedding song is. Go out next to you're at a bar hanging out with somebody, you know what song you want your wedding? She probably knows. Because she doesn't know who she's going to marry, but that song means something to her, right? What we do matters, but as long as we operate under the same confines of the conversation that people have been having, then we'll keep running into the same issues. So I don't care about any label. I personally choose to not use it, even if I'm just one man a drop in the ocean. So.
Yeah, to me, you know, content creator is just one more hat that I have to wear to keep things moving. It would be kind of like, you know, seeing me, I made a QuickBooks stoop for myself because I don't want to pay for QuickBooks. And so it would be like stumbling on me like in my little Google Sheets and being like, you're a bookkeeper. And like, yeah, in that moment I am, but that's just one more task that I'm doing. Or stumbling on me while I'm like, you know, cleaning my house and being like, so you're a vacuumer. I guess. But more than that, I'm really on the same vibe as Michael when it comes to just, I guess the older I get, the more I look out and I see how deeply inhuman and disconnected the colonial machine is in every conceivable aspect of life, and how it begs us to not be human, how it begs us to be anything but the creature that we naturally are. And as human beings, we crave connection, we crave realness, and we also do need a degree of privacy that the colonial content creation machine doesn't really afford us. And so for me personally, anytime that you see my content, it'll have a very personable flavor, but you won't actually know what's going on in my life from anything that I post on social media at all, whatsoever. That's a hard boundary that I have, that I just do not share the things that are most meaningful to me. I share only and exclusively my art. And so I think that allows me to create content in large volume and create it very regularly and keep posting it very regularly, because I'd rather have the reins of that marketing machine in my own hands, at least for right now. But that's where content creation sits with me. It's like any other chore, you know.
All right, so show of hands, who out there uses AI either on a daily or a weekly basis? I was afraid that was going to be the case. Right. But, hot take, I think AI is going to force us to become more human.
Oh, yeah.
What do you guys think about AI? How are you leveraging it? What do you see the future as?
Oh boy, it's a good question. I think I've used AI for mixing a lot in my, it's also one of those things where, so as my day job, I'm a geophysicist at that, where's the tower? Devon Tower.
That's amazing, by the way. I like how you just brush over that. Yeah, just this little thing I do when you're on the side.
So AI has a lot of different, like it plays a lot of different roles in my life. We do have AI that we use for our, data analysis side of things. And sometimes I do take that approach with my music as well, sort of kind of learn what I learned from analyzing data, understanding patterns to see how I can, just like Spotify demographics, or like if I'm looking at where is my plays coming from. Me and Jose talked about this a lot, like how do we get on, playlists and, what's going on, how can we leverage that? The only AI unfortunately I've used with music has been to do with the mixing of the song, but it's an interesting field. I know like people make so many different songs. Like somebody sent me, are there kids in here? Can I say the S word, shitting? Somebody sent me a song, Shitting on Company Dime. And that's like based on like 40s music. Like it sounds like from the 40s, but it's like shitting on company's dime. And at this point, I can't even separate like what's AI. I think what's going to be interesting is creating samples, because I'm a very sample-based producer. It's going to be very interesting to create samples that sound older, like a soul sample, but you can still, the legality of it, I'm not sure yet, but where that is, how you can sample, or like what is the licensing aspect of what you create with AI. So, I mean, I don't have a deeper thought on it, but I feel like that's an interesting thought where you said it's going to make you more human, because I guess you are trying to separate out what's AI, what's actual organic, and I think that's going to blur over time. It's getting pretty bad even at this point, like what's real. I mean, you can tell, there's certain aspects of it you can tell, but it's getting pretty blurry. And yeah, that's all I can talk about AI, because I just haven't used much, because I've been in my own just little corner, not caring what AI is doing in that sense.
Yeah, AI scares the shit out of me. Just like it's just a creepy movie playing out right now, but without getting into that. Sam made a good point earlier today. I think at the end of the day, I think people are going to still look for connection, going to still look for an experience. And I think that, the things like going and seeing a piece of artwork at a museum with your own eyes. I think, things like tasting, an amazing dish made by an amazing chef, or going to see your favorite band, or going to, experience something like that. That's going to always be a human experience. And I think that AI will never touch that. So that's how I feel about it. I'm not too afraid about it infringing into music personally, just because, like you had said, I mean, you really, there's a bunch of legality in there that we haven't really explored. So once that starts coming in, licensing issues, I think that's gonna, it's gonna start hitting the bigger acts in the world, like the Beyoncés or the Taylor Swifts, and they're gonna be, obviously making some legal moves, and I think that's where the conversation is gonna go from there on out. But yeah, I think it's here to stay. I just don't know if it's gonna really kind of hit the art as hard as we think it is.
Yeah, great point. I mean, I think for AI, you have to know how to prompt AI, right? I mean, when you're dealing with AI, for everybody that raised their hands, you probably use it to do something lazily that you would have ordinarily had to go track down. Like, you're just trying to prompt it to make the job you already know how to do a little bit easier. And so for me, I'm not worried about AI, because in large part, the music industry, the creative industry as a whole, has changed in the way you create content over and over again. But the people at the table are still the same, because they're the creatives, right? It's an overflow. And you can deal with AI all you want to, but music and art is something that it's a language that you use to say something that you can't say with just your words. And whenever you feel that, AI is not going to be around. You're just going to grab your guitar, you're going to grab your notepad, you're going to grab whatever it is, you're going to do what you do, because art is still going to be art in the way you do that. Now, if you are an artist that has access to AI, you're just going to use that to create what you already know how to create, right? Like, you still have to have that level. And that term creative is just so broad because it covers so many spectrums. Like, I know people that are really creative with spreadsheets. Like, I got people that can make the spreadsheet do backflips, and I can barely count, so she's on it, right? No, I think you can be creative in any of these aspects, it really just comes down to what you care about. And I truthfully don't believe that people care enough, by and large, that people who are not artists are now going to be artists because there's AI. They don't care enough to do that. They just want to listen to the content. So I think we're probably still safe.
Two-pronged answer to this question. From like the logistics standpoint of, so I've announced to my friends here, but I don't think that I've announced like publicly yet that I'm getting close to the end of a book project right now. And something that AI has been really useful in that is not the writing aspect of that, but being able to run my outlines for chapters through and say, do you see any gaps in this? Because it's a nonfiction, and so I'm saying like, okay, what isn't addressed here? Or tightening outlines have been really, really useful. In my recent jobs in both technology and in grant writing and arts management, I was able to use that as a drafting tool to show me like, okay, here's what I would put in a contract. What would this software instead see to see like what I'm missing and stuff. So there's I think utility to AI, but the vast majority of people that I've come across in my visual arts career who are about AI are people that I just want to smack silly. I actually had a guy at a coffee shop try to pick me up talking about how like he was creating this AI art, and I was like, oh buddy, you don't know who you're talking to. Because it's straight up plagiarism, and the people that are most impacted by that are the people who are local emerging artists who are posting their stuff online and trying to get out there, and these scraper bots and like crawlers that you can literally see them if you have Squarespace and you can watch the analytics, or you have Google Analytics. You can watch these crawlers come in from DuckDuckGo or your sister's ass. I'm so sorry, I just got and you can watch them go through every single page of your website and stop on even like hidden like little pages that you have to click through something to get to. And it's so creepy and weird just to know that like you can't preemptively protect your work in the same ways that we have historically done. So it's like the Wild West out there, and you just have to put your stuff out there hoping that people are looking for humanity, and I think they are. I think they really are. However, the people that are making big contract deals with like Target, they probably are going to be the ones that are going to be taking the business away from the small artists. So I think as artists, we have a responsibility through this age of AI kind of taking root to stick together and to litigate appropriately, to otherwise defend each other appropriately, use the reporting features that everybody knows humans aren't actually looking at on like Meta and all that stuff, you know. But like using those en masse so that we can combat in whatever ways we are capable for each other, those threats that we face as artists. So that's my two-pronged answer to that.
Yours is probably different because you're a visual artist. AI is a lot easier to take from you than it is from me.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So I forget the exact percentage, but I want to say 80 to 90% of the people before the invention of the tractor worked on farming, right? So if you think about once the tractor was invented, I think that led to a lot of people doing more creative stuff, doing stuff that they actually like doing versus just survival. So maybe we talk about how we can pivot that technology to start to do some of that stuff. So maybe a good starting point is going to be fanfare. If you want to give us the elevator pitch, how do we give power back to these artists?
If you've ever seen it, so if you've ever seen DJ Maverick's podcast, I told him when I left, I was like, dude, you're really good at your job and questions. That's really awesome. What Fanfare is we are a mobile application designed to help musicians grow their fan base. And the basic way that it works, I guess I should probably tell you why I created Fanfare first. I'm going to do that first. So I have been a musician for as far back as I can remember. And first I was just playing in living rooms, doing all the things that musicians do. But then my friend said, you should start playing out. So I started playing to all the different places, going to all the little shows, and doing things that every musician thinks that you can do, and then some silver-haired gentleman is going to come out of the back and offer you a record deal, right? So I did all that. And eventually, I did get in front of a record label. I got in front of an A&R, and A&R is just responsible for like artists and repertoire for like going out and finding new talent. And at Def Jam, and so I'm thinking, here it is, Mike, time to make everything go. And what they told me was it no longer matters how good you are. The only thing that matters now is how many fans you have on your respective social media sites. And so like young, bright-eyed, and bushy-tailed, I'm crushed. I'm driving away completely crushed. But then as I'm driving, by divine download, I just feel this thing come and say, hey, if they're going to use social media to decide who gets a seat at the table, why don't you use social media to decide everyone gets a seat at the table? So here is the birthplace of fanfare. If you are an indie acoustic folk artist that listens to James Bay and Ed Sheeran and you live in Los Angeles, and I'm an indie acoustic folk artist that listens to James Bay and Ed Sheeran and I live in Austin, what will happen is when you download Fanfare, you tell us all the things about you, upload your own content, and we're going to use our matching algorithm, kind of like a dating site. We're going to say, hey, check out this guy. He sounds a lot like you, but he lives in Los Angeles. Do you think it's a match? And when they both say yes, it gives them the ability to open up what's called a fan sharing relationship, where then you can share your content to their existing web pages like Instagram, TikTok, etc., and vice versa. And your fans are going to start focusing on their content and vice versa. The basic premise is if I have 1,000 fans and you have 1,000 fans, and together we have 2,000 fans. Because I think for any creative, the real superpower is togetherness, right? When you realize that as a plumber, you don't want to walk into anybody else's house and see another plumber's magnet on the refrigerator. But if you create content, you do want to look in someone else's Spotify or whatever listening engine they are and see more artists like you. That means they binge your content. So instead of building in silos and hiding things behind our back, if we build collectively together, then we can change the way that things look right now using the same technology that was built to keep us out to decide that everyone gets a seat at the table and you as the consumer get to be able to hear the content that you're searching for. So,
All right, so just to change things up, your family's been kidnapped. The only way they're going to survive if you can recite a song word for word. What song are you going to go with?
My own song.
Right.
That's kind of a loophole. Let's just it up. Word for word.
Lord, I've been listening to my own stuff a lot.
Poor family, come on, you gotta save it.
It's probably some 90s Bollywood music, song. Dil Se from A.R. Rahman's, Dil Se album, but I don't know if anybody knows that. I'm sure a few people know it, but I would probably do that.
For whatever reason, Usher came to mind.
I thought he was going to say, yeah.
That would be the one. I don't know why. Yeah.
That's fine.
That's great.
I'm going to be honest with you, my family's probably gone. Because I've been making up words to songs all the time. I mean, even if you think about it, I might say happy birthday, but did you know that happy birthday has other verses?
No.
So somebody's dying, man. Somebody's dying. Maybe, I don't know, heavenly love. Amazing grace? No, that has a lot of verses. They're gone. I'm sorry.
Well, first of all, I'm estranged, so I didn't mean for it to be so hard. But if you mean my family like my cat,
Yes, the cat.
Probably anything by Eric Gunderson, probably cigarettes by Eric Gunderson.
Who's been your biggest inspiration? For me, if I think back, probably an elementary school teacher that told me, hey, you got to do what you got to do to be able to take your family forward. They've given up a lot to come to the U.S. to follow this dream. You can't let them down. So that kind of has stuck with me throughout my whole life. For you guys, what's one piece of advice that has stuck with you forever?
My biggest earthly inspiration is probably my brother. So I grew up in the church, and I think when it comes to the church and the arts as well, there's really big, it's a no-no for a lot of it, because you don't want to be out there chasing the world and all the stuff that they say and those things. So but then at the exact same time, there's this thing inside of you that's just I didn't make myself this way. I 100% am a musician. I'm a creative in my heart. And I remember I struggled with that for a while. And my brother gave me some information, some advice that he always comes back and gives me. And this is what I would give to everyone else, which is another one of my principles of what I live life by. And he said, Michael, don't expect people to know what it is that you're supposed to do. If it's your calling, go do that. Stop worrying about what other people think about you is none of your business. And I think that's so true for everybody. If I could give that to somebody, I would say, whether it's social media or whether you've got a group of people, I have a group of friends that I'm in love with. Some of them are here right now. I have a group of friends that we do everything together, and we've just decided that we don't really care what everybody else is doing. We're just going to pour into each other. So if you can get over what people think and feel, that's the most inspiring piece of information for me.
Yeah, I don't know if I have a specific like thing someone said to me, but I want to make to your point. I think that having like a good group of people around you, like having people that you know are encouraging you and holding you up in your feeling good, I think that's really important. So yeah, to me it's more like that's really the only inspiration I have is other people that are around me. Good friends like Sundeep.
Yeah.
Wait, I'm your friend?
I'm married.
But yeah, I think I echo their sentiment. There's not one thing, because again, for me it's interesting because I moved here when I was about 16, so everything before that kind of seems like a dream to me. Like I can't remember certain aspects of life from before, so I don't know exactly, because I didn't start making music until, you know, back in 2018. Before that, I was just geophysicsing all over the place. So, so music came late to me. So after that, it's probably everybody around me. A lot of them are in this room that supported me, and you know, like Kazi, like he knows I'm very impatient, and he's the one who's just like, dude, just chill, like, you know, just take one step at a time. And because I'm an ADHD person, I'm always just very passionate about what I do, and sometimes I'm like, I want to do this right now, and then, you know, just I want to push this music out right now. But he always told me to just relax, you know, take it easy, one day at a time. So I've been trying to do that. So I guess all the people around me that are telling me that, hey, you're doing good, you know, you're doing good because you're doing what you want to do. So just keep doing that.
Sorry, I don't do well being put on the spot. So the best advice, if I think back to it, that I've gotten was a while ago. Is anybody in here familiar with Variety Healthcare? Variety Care. A while ago, I did their variety show, and this was when I was still in high school. I think I was 17 or 18 years old, and I was doing this number where I wore like a neon pink wig and sang Bjork's "It's Oh So Quiet," including the scream with which I ran straight at former Governor Brad Henry's table screaming. And I really hope you appreciated that. But you know, whenever I was rehearsing for it, though, there was a guy that came in, and he was this, he had to be in his 80s or something. He was quite a bit older, and Italian man, and had the most incredible posture, and spoke very definitively about everything. If it was raining outside, he could say that it was clear, and you would believe him, because he would look so stinking serious. But he came in one day whenever I had arrived there early, and I was just like stretching and trying to get ready to like go through my routine. And I just realized I didn't say, you guys aren't the only musicians. I used to be a musician.
Tables have turned.
The turntables. But so I was you know, doing warm-ups and, you know, stretching out, trying to like get into like my, okay, I gotta be a performer now. And I see him coming into the studio, and he's yelling over his shoulder, "Oh, you give me 5 minutes and I'll have her waltzing." And I was like, who? It was just me. Nobody else was there that early, and I didn't have a waltz number, so I was like, I don't know what this guy's talking about right now. But he comes right up to me and goes, "Okay, here's 2 rules. Eyes on me, feet moving." And I was like, okay, eyes on you, feet moving. And sure enough, like, I wasn't actually the person he was supposed to be waltzing with. It was somebody else. He just didn't know. But so I trusted him, and he, you know, I've been all postured up, and my feet are just, I'm literally just moving my feet and keeping my eyes locked on his. And he says, "You do not look away from me." And I go, okay, all right. So we're doing that, and at one point, as people are filtering into this dance studio where we're supposed to be rehearsing, I'm like, shit, they all look really serious on their faces, like they're really like intently watching this. And so I break away to look at the mirrors, because, you know, it's a dance studio, so there's a wall of mirrors. And I look at that, and my God, it looks like I know what I'm doing. I have not a clue what I'm doing. And I tripped up after that, obviously, because I broke his rule. He said eyes on me. After that, I realized, like, sometimes you don't have to fully know what you're doing. You just have to be so locked into the vision and so insistent that you're going to keep moving no matter what.
Love that. All right, so we're going to get deep a little bit. So let's talk about being a creative and the challenges it brings, especially when it comes to mental health. I think sometimes there's an expectation that we always have to be happy. We're creatives. We're always supposed to be in a good mood. So I don't know if you guys want to share anything personal. If not, that's cool. But I think that we should have these conversations because we're not always happy.
How much time we got? Because this hits pretty close to home for me, because that what my music is all about is sort of understanding my own self and understanding, you know, what is that darkness that kind of looms over me and sort of coming out of it, coming to the light. And it is hard. It's hard being a creative. Again, I come from a culture where comparative psychology is pretty bad, where everything is you should be better than what you are, but in a sort of negative way. It's not like, hey, look at what the other person's doing, learn from it. It's almost like, be that person. Just be that person. Why are you not that person? And that takes the individuality out of you. And so I struggled with that a lot. You know, once I started making music, I felt like my mental health declined after I found music. That's a very interesting thought, because I've kind of thought about it a lot. And the reason is because I finally found something I really loved and cared about. Like, I do love what I do at work, but it is something that comes so naturally to me. It is something that is therapy for me. And so when I make music, I think I've made the best music I've made when I've been absolutely depressed. Like, that's because it's a way for me to get out of it. And it's not that I always make depressing stuff, it's 90% that. But it's also, but it is, I am coming to a point where, again, it's been a journey. It's been a lot of years where I quit music because I was just too stressed out, too mentally drained. But at this point in time, I do have days where I doubt myself and doubt what I'm doing, doubt everything that I'm doing, everything around me. But then I start making that music, and that beauty starts coming out. It's just like, as soon as you start, you know, focusing on what you're doing, like Lauren was saying, just keep moving. That's basically the idea. And, you know, life will come in the way, other things will come in the way, and that will affect your artistry. But I think if you can take something out of all those moments that affect you mentally, I think you will become a better and better musician as you go on, because all those pieces add on to you becoming the artist that you're supposed to be. So for me, it's been a struggle. I'm prone to a lot of mental health struggles. So, you know, I've been trying to be better, you know, trying to talk to people that I love. You know, as soon as you start getting into a dark space, you want to just not talk to anybody. So I've been trying to make a point to actually reach out to people and talk to people. And I also want to reach other people through my music. Sure, I rap in Hindi, but I think the energy is always there. Like, there's certain thing that you can get out of the music that is just like, okay, he's talking about something. And this is a plug for my YouTube channel. There's subtitles for my music videos. And I just dropped one.
Like, comment, and subscribe.
Like, comment, and subscribe. Sundeep Productions just dropped a song randomly, me dancing in a sunroom yesterday. Thank you, man. So I've been enjoying that side of it. I think that's been taking me away from the mental health struggles, but they're always there. And I think at this point, as I'm getting older, I think I'm getting more and more tools to deal with it.
Yeah, a lot of what you were talking about just now. I think it's really easy to compare yourself as an artist, as a musician, as a visual artist. I think it's really easy to do that. I think that's just the culture of America. But yeah, I think that's the beauty. Like you talked about, how once you really start getting excited, you're kind of. I do the thing where I like kind of push it off. I'm just like, yeah, I'm not going to do this anymore. I give myself till next year. I'm giving myself another couple of months, or I'm just gonna. I always set this like date that, and after that, I'm done. I'm gonna cut away. I'm just gonna fade out into the darkness. Whatever. But then you have these moments where you get super excited about your music, and when you're making music, or you're making music with friends, like you get super excited about it, and there's this vibe, there's this like feeling, almost a spirituality to it. It pulls you right back in. So I think it just goes with being a human being. I think that life is hard, and that's just the way it is sometimes, most times. And I think that making art makes it a little easier sometimes. I guess that's my answer.
I want to be super clear and concise when I say that mental health is just an issue for everybody. Yeah, we're the ones holding the microphone as creatives up here, but I bet you I could hand it around this room. And for some reason, I know you guys feel it right now. Everybody is battling those things. Everybody's battling those same things, and mental health is an issue for all of us. I have my theories on it. I believe that with the more visible we have become, with the technological revolution, the more parts of our life, the more things that we have that are visible, the more we begin to be discontent in where we are and what we have. And it really stifles us, it hinders us, and there's things that are troublesome for that. And I'm going to say that you guys have all seen the pyramid of the hierarchy of needs, right? So if you look at that pyramid, on the bottom is, food, water, shelter, right? Physiological needs. And then there's safety and belonging. All of us are desperately desiring to see and be seen, even if it's by one person. You want to love somebody, see and be seen. All the way at the top of that pinnacle is purpose, right? That's you've achieved the thing that you want to achieve. If you don't have the first two, you're never going to get to the top. You can't go outside and talk to a homeless person about their 401k. It's not going to make any sense. They're not in that spot. And so I think for all of us, the reason why we're struggling with such issues is we don't have the first two blocks. We might have food, water, shelter, but we don't have safety and belonging. And so it brings about this level of struggle and strife within each of us. And we might be doing really well in our career. We might be doing really well by social standards. But when we go back home and we realize that we're not seen and we don't see the way that we want, it becomes very, very difficult. Now, how does that affect us as artists, and how can you guys help? How can anybody help? Is go back to Bible days. If there is war, they would grab singers and sit them at the front and say, don't move, just sing. You bang that drum. Right? You go back to Holocaust, there's songs about it. We teach little kids that London Bridge is falling down. That was a terrible time, right? No matter what time in history it's been, when bad things are going on, the arts persist. They actually get better. And the reason for that is because we need you guys and you guys need us. We have to be able to connect as humans, and art helps us do that. It pulls us out of the terrible things that are going on. And so for me, whenever I'm dealing with those things, I go back to the reason why. Purpose is connected for musicians. For other people, that final pinnacle might be something different. You may be working on a cure for cancer, whatever it may be. But for musicians, that is our purpose. If we can't make money, we're always struggling back and forth between the top and the bottom of that pyramid. Food, water, shelter. If I can't pay my bills doing my purpose, it becomes very difficult. And then I judge myself harshly based on those things. But if we change the narrative, we change the way that we operate in the music industry now, we can turn it into a sustainable business model for all creatives, to where we don't have to fight that first hurdle anymore. We'll still have times we're depressed because that's just what life is. But we can help each other get out of that first spot.
Love it when you talk Maslow to me. I'm in massive agreement. I think a lot of the mental health struggles that we have, and just to be clear, I know there's big stigma, so I try to be very open about this, but I myself am diagnosed with a couple of mental health disorders, PTSD and major depression. So I know what that is to get really, really, really deep in it. I know what that is. And community truly is such a medicine, and a medicine that the overarching machine that we live under right now really doesn't want us to have. And that's very difficult to call out, because it's like people, it's kind of like in the Matrix, whenever they're like, people are going to defend the Matrix. I've seen that firsthand so much, and it's really disheartening. But what I can tell you is that the arts are integral to our connection as human beings, and our social connection with each other. One of the first things that I learned when I started, I didn't grow up with my culture. I grew up knowing that I was Potawatomi. That's never been a secret to me. But my family didn't really practice the culture at all. They didn't really engage in the culture. So I never went to my first powwow until I was like 28, 29. I'm just now 30. And one of the first things that I learned going to powwow and going to ceremonies was that the arts are actually a form of prayer, a form of intention, a form of aligning ourselves with each other and with, I guess what you could call the divine. aligning ourselves with all living beings. Even the way that we refer to all living beings, Jaganaganan, means all my relatives. And so going into ceremony and being in a space where song and dance and spoken words are all forms of prayer, but also forms of connecting us. It's changed my understanding of my own art as something that I can do as a form of aligning myself with something greater, even if I don't always call that thing what everybody else calls it. So I guess that's where I stand on the arts for mental health. And further, I think I'm in agreement with you, Sundeep, that a lot of my best artwork has come out of those darkest periods. Not because, you know, the tortured artist is necessary. I've seen people that try to, like, be a tortured artist, and it's like, buddy, you're just torturing yourself and everybody that has to put up with you. I need you to stop. But I think whenever we are in those spaces, we have such, I'm going to use woo-woo words, we have such alchemical power that we can spin those into something that will speak across space and across time to other people, and it will be medicine. We are the medicine.
So we touched on it briefly, but I want to hear tangible advice. What's the best way to support a creative? Because I think we all have friends, family who are creative. What's the best advice? How do you support them?
Ask. Ask. Just ask. Every creative has different outlets. Just ask.
I'm going to say what I think you've heard everybody say over and over again, not just from this panel, but in life. Buy merch and buy music. And the reason why I'm saying that is because...
And paintings.
And paintings, right. I know that it's not convenient for you as a consumer, right? Right now, you can get on Spotify, and you can turn on that little algorithm, you can clean your kitchen and hear all of your favorite songs, and you could be done with all the work you're doing without even thinking about it. But every time, I want to say there was it was the year before last, I was streamed almost 300,000 times, and I got paid like $143 from that. And, right, and when you hear numbers and figures, it starts to make more sense. That art, somebody made it, somebody created it, and they're unfortunately subject to a system that is exploiting that. If you can help, if you can benefit in that, then your dollar will tell them what you're saying. Your dollar will tell them, I care about the artist. Go to the show, buy the ticket, take your date to a show, do all those things, because once the bigger engines see that, they will say, because money talks, and they'll go back into the little rooms and they'll say, hey, people are starting to revolt against this system. Right? The only way to boil the ocean is one pot at a time. If we all had a pot and go get it, we can make it different. So help the artist by buying the merch, buy the music, buy the ticket. That's all I can say.
Yeah, buy money's great. But also, money's great. But also, I think if you don't, maybe you don't feel like you want to give money or like buying merch. I know sometimes that's really expensive. And again, I agree. Like buy the music, buy the merch, but also share. Reposting something is really important, especially on Instagram. That's basically where they're finding where the algorithm sees something. If you share, like, let's say if Sundeep posts like his video, every time somebody shares that video on their stories, that's like a little ping for Instagram. Same thing with TikTok. I mean, just share. Follow their Spotify pages. Like, actually follow, not just listen to it, but follow it. Follow their Instagram pages. Follow all their social medias. Give them your email. Things like that. So any information, any sort of data, that helps out musicians specifically. Same thing with art, though. I mean, share everything that an artist is putting out. So yeah, that's it.
I think I agree with what everybody said. I had a lot of streams on a few of my songs, and I think I made about $22 in 2 years. So that that hurt. That hurt a lot. And also, like the same year, 2 people bought my albums on Bandcamp, and I made $20 right there in 2 transactions. And so, I'll call out a friend of mine from work, Drew. Every time I drop a merch, he's always there to buy it. I mean, he doesn't. It's not that it's the support that also helps a lot. It's a support that keeps you going. Showing up to events, actually, posting the stories like, hey, I'm at this event, check out, you know, Sundeep's music, Jose's music, check out Fanfare app, Lauren's art. Like, it's all those little things that help out. Just, it's like small little things that become big snowballs. Like, it's like the more you share, the more people have eyes on your music. And then from that, you know, population, there are people that will be like, oh, I want to support by buying the album. So it may not be you buying the album, but just sharing it puts it in front of a lot of people, and that just opens the opportunity for people to buy the album, or even, you know, follow on Spotify. So I would say, you know, again, as Lauren said, ask. Like, there's a lot of things we're doing all the time. You know, I know, like, social media is interesting. If you don't show your face, your post is not going to be shown to a lot of people. So, you know, if you follow them creative, just be aware, like, okay, they have an event going on, let me go support. You know, I am also a culprit of not going to a lot of people's shows, and I'm kind of changing that. I'm going to call myself out, because again, I was in a darker place and I just didn't want to go and mingle with people. But again, even like talking to other artists, me and Jose have helped each other just by conversation. I was like, hey, I saw what you did on that content on one of your songs. What'd you do? Can you tell me what you do? I want to do the same thing. So even with that, you know, just the conversation with the artist and just helping them out, sharing the stories, just means a lot. So, and just showing up like this. Thank you so much for showing up.
All right, I definitely want to carve out some time for some questions, but before we do, I think I want to hear from you guys. Where can people find you? And also new projects. We were chopping it up before we got started. Each one of you has new projects, which is super exciting, almost like perfect timing. So go ahead, let's plug everything in.
All right, October 25th, right in this spot, I'm doing a music video. He ran so much that day because it was a non-cut sequence, so he had to just do the whole song every time from start to finish. And it was a dance sequence I did with a friend of mine, Natasha. A huge shout out to Natasha Abufado, great choreographer and dancer. So October 25th, we're releasing that music video. There will be merch, themed cocktails and mocktails from the land, you know, from my homeland, India. Some flavors like mango and guava juices. And so we're gonna have that. And then I'm trying to release something every 2 months, so just follow my Instagram. It's Sundeep, SUNDEEP _music, and Sundeep on all streaming platforms with a space, SUNDEEP. Thank you.
You can find my music on Instagram, Spotify. It's going to be Jane the Bishop, so J plus the Bishops. Then my other solo stuff is Chayo, so CHALLO, all on all platforms. We're having a show October 17th at Resident Head, which is on the south side of Oklahoma City. A dope spot, and it's going to be an all-immersive experience, so it's going to be a Halloween show. So when you show up, there'll be ghouls and zombies and stuff like that. We'll have dancers out dancing along with the songs, and yeah, it's gonna be a fun experience. Bring your best costume. It's only $5. And it starts at 7.
October 17th.
Yes. I'm also having a music video party here on the 25th. I'm just kidding. I knew it. You came for competition. No. So Fanfare, as you guys know, is one of those projects where we get to launch and then something changes. Apple puts something out and we got to go back. But we're going to launch again October 31st, but we're going to try to do that in such a way where we get Oklahomans involved and get you guys on the platform, get you seated in there first. So October 31st, we're going to get the actual app again on the App Store. You can go get it and go play with it. And it's Fanfare, spelled FANFAIR, so like fan soccer. My Instagram is FANFAIR _APP, Fanfare _app. And follow us. We do a lot of cool stuff. So thanks.
So, oh gosh. My biggest announcement lately is that if you're in Santa Fe anytime soon, I am very proud to announce that I have gallery representation there with an all-native curated contemporary art gallery called Revolt and Tulse. It's a collaboration between Revolt Contemporary Art in Taos and Tulse out of Tulsa. This super cool Creek girl named Carly Treese. She is incredible. She's a great artist and a stellar curator, and she has really spearheaded the living heck out of this project. So, loving that. You can also find my prints. I have signed prints with certificates of authenticity and everything. So like, hey, keep it and then sell it on eBay in a few years. At Flora Bodega in the Paseo District, at Bookish. I think I still have a few works up at Bookish as well. There I use books and art store. And then I also have work at Terrastone in the Plaza District, and we'll have more and more popping up in other cities very, very soon. I also have work at the Citizen Potawatomi Gift Shop at our Cultural Center in Shawnee. So if you're out there and looking to learn a little bit about our culture, you'll also see my art right next to Stephen Paul Judd's stickers. I fangirled so hard. As far as new projects, y'all are the first hearing it in this room publicly, but I am working on a book right now that is detailing all of the steps, the practical steps that I've taken to go from having absolutely nothing and just starting my art journey from scratch a couple of years ago with that year off, all the way to doing my first major art fair. Some of you that follow me are probably aware that I was at Sovereign this year, which is a native art expo that takes place during the annual Indian market in Santa Fe, which is a huge festival where 100,000 people descend on the third largest art city in the United States for this shindig, and it's all native art. And Sovereign is a fantastic expo run by a gallery that I just love called Fahrenheit. But this book is going to be documenting the practical steps that artists can take to take that same thing, everything that I would have wished that I knew in advance. So watch out for that. Get on my mailing list. My website is laurenkelly.art, LAURENKELLY. .art, it's .art instead of .com, and all the announcements relating to anything and everything will be coming out in that mailing list, so if you're on it, you'll be in the know.
All right, let's open it up for questions. Please don't be shy.
I got one. So since we were with Med Week, Minority Enterprise Development Week, which real quick, I love that all of you are here to support. You can support further by checking in and giving us your data so we can say, give us more money, sponsors, next year. Okay, so please scan that QR code before you leave. But my question, just like a real quick one, what is since although we are creatives, we are also entrepreneurs in, big ways or small ways, what is the best resource or tool that you have found in the last, maybe year or so to help you in that entrepreneurship journey as a creative?
So getting connected, for me, I don't know about you guys, but for me, getting connected with culturally specific groups that want to see us rise has been huge. I recently had the just absolute joy and privilege of doing a workshop, weekend-long workshop with New Mexico Community Capital, Native Women Lead, HUD Oberly, and several others, where they did just like this whole accelerator for us. And I think although the knowledge was important, I'm somebody that's obviously like worked in finance and stuff already. So the biggest thing for me was just being around community that was so, so uplifting. So get in those cultural specific spaces and really uplift, yourself with those around you. That would be my biggest thing.
Yeah, same thing. I think people is the biggest resource that Fanfare was able to raise about $200,000 in our first couple years of going at it, and it's based on knowing people. Shajita's over there. She works with I2E, and they, at the end of the day, right, everybody has ideas, but really people still do business with people that they understand, know, and like, right? And so having people, and don't become a people collector, right? Sometimes you mix it up and you go to these little events and you find somebody and within a couple seconds you decide if they're useful to you or not. Don't do that, right? Who cares if you know the guy who owns Sony if he doesn't answer the phone when you call, right? So actually care about people, but then that opens up so many more doors than really your resume ever will.
Yeah, I would agree. People, me and Sundeep, we'll kind of meet up, have tacos, and talk, just kind of game plan on what we're gonna do and how we're gonna go about, releasing a single, and he'll do some research, I'll do some research. We just kind of share ideas, and I think that's really what I feel like it's been really inspiring for me. Seeing my other friends do the same thing, it just kind of gives you that entrepreneurial spirit.
Yeah, I would echo that, people, and also I feel like I'm in that moment where I'm actually, getting to where I'm supposed to be, and like events like this are bringing me there. So, like, to answer your question, I think it's events like this and meeting people in my community, I'm meeting minorities that are doing creative work and getting inspired from them is actually helping a lot. And because, again, I started music just a few years ago, so I'm still going to where I'm supposed to be, and everything that I'm, learning from people has been helping me in my journey.
All right, question over here.
You guys are amazing. You're amazing. But all of you. So the way of the world is access and ease of use. And although I'm a little long in the tooth and remember buying music and being able to have all the lyrics on paper and you get to read it all, I recognize a lot of the youth may not even understand that when they're downloading music on at least other platforms like Spotify and iTunes and such, and Tidal, that the artists aren't making a lot of money from that. Are there any campaigns that we can support to get the word out more and to educate, or can we expect that of you, artists, who I'm sure have so much time to launch a whole campaign, so that we can continue to educate the youth and have those conversations, even with a lot of adults? I don't know how many people in here really understands the impact or how much it impacts artists when we are just quickly downloading music. But is there any way that we can support and help to launch a campaign in those efforts?
So you're in luck. You're in luck. I am the implementation strategist with a group called What I Do. It's spearheaded by local musician Jay Masty, along with our friend Brenna Noble, who dances with Stepmom, if anybody in here is familiar with Stepmom. We just recently did our summer showdown at Resonant Head after doing 2 different concerts featuring 5 musicians each in the Plaza District, and we plan to do more things like that in the future. The ultimate culmination of the summer showdown was that we used what we had bringing in from tickets to support music video for our first place winner and other prizes for those bands that competed. So we're trying to take in funds to give back into our local artists. So that is going to be at whatido.org if you want to stay tuned for more projects that we do there. We also do visual arts stuff and other things. So that's one campaign you can keep up with.
Thank you.
That's a really good question. I'm so happy you asked that. It shows you care. I love it. Fanfare is always doing events. We host events. We host private mixers, and we host larger conference events. But to your point, one of my favorite quotes is Henry Ford. If I'd have asked people what they wanted, they'd have told me faster horses, right? And it's just sometimes people don't know what to ask. We did a conference over here at right next to Sister Park, the convention center. And I tried to bring in as many top labels and people that are moving in the industry, but I made the mistake of putting bigger names on there, like NLE Choppa and some other people, and then all the other people were just like, is he going to perform? I'm just like, he's going to teach you all the things you need to know. You're an artist. They're like, yeah, but I want to hear rap. Go on YouTube, right? There's so many different things that it's hard to navigate with. So we host these mixers so that while people are together and having a good time, after we will evangelize a little bit and tell the story of why we need each other and how we can go forward. So I'm doing that all the time. You can reach me. You can go to fanfareapp.com and see what we're doing there as well. But if you want me to host an event in your spot, it usually brings out a lot of young people, and it usually brings out people that love to buy food, buy drinks. If you have restaurateurs or anybody that has a spot and you want me to do one of those there, super happy to partner with you and help spread the word. So thanks.
I would say, giving your money always helps. So you have this option on Spotify. You can put your Cash App as a Spotify artist. There's other options like that. I think you can find Instagram. Obviously, it'll have links, and so I have a couple links to those. But I think really, at the end of the day, I think just being like we talked about, sharing content, sharing posts, sharing music. We get paid, I think, a fraction of a cent, so it's 0.003 per spin. So it's nothing. We aren't doing this for money. Obviously, it'd be nice if we were, and I hopefully one day we'll be able to change that. But I think that sharing content, sharing music is really, personally, that would be helpful. So.
This might not be the perfect answer for that one, but I feel like even collaborating with other artists, like dancers and visual artists, actually opens up a lot of your kind of fan base. So you're actually working with the other artists and creating something unique, and there's a story behind it. And I think a lot of owners come to us too, like we have to share the story of what we're doing, and I think that will hopefully reach people and reach because there's human emotion is it's just everybody's human, right? There's certain things we like, certain things we don't like, and so I think just putting your story out there along with your music, I think should reach a lot of people, and that should help. Yeah.
I'm so sorry. I just want to say one more thing. That's cute. That sounds great. But I did just charge you to start a campaign, even if it isn't. I think I've seen these campaigns where they'll be like, everybody put a black box on your Instagram. But I mean, I don't have a huge following, but if any of you have a following, I would love, because algorithm is a real thing as well, right? And so if you can maybe, I don't know, if you do a cool dance and attach it to give artists money and charge everyone to start, charge meaning encourage and push and promote. I'm hoping that that's a way to get some of the younger people who don't know this is an issue to become aware that it's an issue. So I'll give you until Monday.
You got it. We're on.
Well, the camera is on. Let's do it.
Just saying, no pressure.
Okay, one last question before we wrap up.
I'm Jen. I'm here on behalf of the Film and Music Office. So this is a music-specific question, but it could also apply to Lauren as well as an artist. But conversations across our office, we are very aware that the state has exported music artists pretty quickly. And so we see a lot of our music artists and maybe artists in general move out of state to feel supported and to get the resources they need. So question to the panel is, what can we do across our communities, across our state to keep you all here? And what's the type of support that you need to continue to work and continue to bloom here?
Man. That's a long. It's a loaded question. It's a loaded question. It's like I have my mixed feelings about Oklahoma City and Oklahoma music scene personally. And that's thanks. I hope I don't say anything bad.
It's Jay and the Business.
Don't cancel your handle first. Honestly, I think a lot of the issues that musicians are facing in Oklahoma City specifically, and I think a lot of the, honestly around the United States, and I think it's just gatekeeping. I think there's a lot of gatekeeping here. I think personally, even as a Mexican American, I believe that Oklahoma City, I think the Latino community is, 20%, I don't know, 15% of the Oklahoma City is Latino based, largest minority in Oklahoma is going to be that. It's going to be Latino. So the fact is that I'm one of only I think 3 Latino musicians that are being even allowed to play. It's kind of fucking wild. So personally, I have a lot of mixed feelings about Oklahoma. So I would say if there's any way to just basically, which is I don't know if there is a way, but to change the culture on that, I think it's going to be up to nonprofits. I think it's going to be up to other sources that aren't going to be and I hate to say it, I'm gonna drop a name, Tower Theater. It ain't gonna be Ponyboy. It ain't gonna be the Blue Note. It ain't gonna be any of that stuff. It's gonna be people that have money that can move into those circles and say, this is how we're gonna change it. We're gonna start making this an issue because that's what we're facing right now. So, anyways, that's my answer.
21.3%.
Okay, chose violence.
Sean, you can stop recording.
I love it. Dual-fold question. So I actually started Fanfare when I lived in a different state, and our largest office is still in Denver. Denver is what's called a music city. I don't know if you guys know what that's about, but in music cities, there's a lot more, because so much of the infrastructure comes from live music, there's a lot more data that they have, and so there's certain things that the state can do with that data because it's music supports it. And I think that when you look at places like that, one of our hubs is in Nashville, and in Los Angeles and DFW. I'm naming these music cities, so whenever I moved back here, just because of life circumstances, I thought, Oklahoma is, if you think there's not money here, man, every time you drive past those cows that smell strange, that smells like money. There's money here, right? It's ripe with, it's still, I want to say it's 29 on largest cities from a population perspective, and then from an actual size perspective, it's still top 50 in largest cities. There is so much here that Oklahoma can be doing. It is primed and ready to be supported by the arts. The problem is that no one knows what that really looks like. whenever I was getting ready to do this event, I reached out to a lot of different officials. I reached out to people in Oklahoma State and Oklahoma government, Oklahoma City's government. I reached out to people and I talked to them about what I wanted to do. But because they had not seen it or heard it yet, I got shuffled around quite a bit. I still pulled it off, thank God, but it was one of those things where I thought if I would have had more help, and I'm talking, I called all the time. Part of what I do is just banging the phones, getting on and trying to get people to connect with what I'm doing. I called so many people with so little help that it dawned on me that Oklahoma as a whole does not know what it looks like to be on the national scene from a music or art perspective and what it can do for the city. And so I think working with people that are already moving in that direction keeps the gatekeeping to a minimum. Because at one level, I think people enjoy being Lord of the Flies, or like the biggest fish in a pond, where it's just like, yeah, I've got my thing, I built it over here, don't touch it, right? As I was building, there was actual people reaching out to me like, why didn't you call me? Like, I don't know who you are, right? If you have too much ego, if you can't check your idea of who you think you are, then you can't help but gatekeep, because you are, safeguarding this little piece of pie that you have. If we stop building in silos and bring these things together, and if you see somebody moving in a direction, actively look for those things and say, hey, how can I help do this thing? Because a rising tide raises all ships.
Okay. So I'm going to come at this from an arts management, arts organizational perspective, just because I have some experience there. I know I recognized your face from somewhere. It's so good to see you. So I think one of the biggest things that I run into as a visual artist, and that also I've seen other people in other industries run into, is that around here, and I don't necessarily think that it's the fault of the organizations, but I think it's just a natural outcome of where organizations are and how they have been perhaps established prior to this decade. A lot of the art organizations around here are kind of stuck in this mode, whether through logistical challenges or otherwise, not necessarily of their own decisions, but just they're kind of stuck in this space of like, won't somebody please come and save our artists? Like all of the arts events kind of end up being like that Sarah McLachlan commercial. And I feel like the biggest difference maker for me, I never sold a painting for really what it should be worth on the market based on, composition and all that stuff until I got a piece at Red Earth. And of course, Red Earth, if y'all are familiar with it, has moved indoors. It's no longer an outside arts festival anymore. It's indoors in the Cowboy Museum, this beautiful space. And it attracts actual collectors now. So I had actual collectors roll up and purchase a piece for what it was worth. And that laid the groundwork for me to then go and sell a piece within an hour of show opening for $3,500 in Santa Fe. And that was after years of struggling to sell like a 16 by 20 acrylic piece for like maybe $150. The amount of times as artists that we get lowballed or have our expectations tempered by really well-meaning organizational leaders, be it in the nonprofit sphere or by local businesses, it can be really disheartening for us because we see what the market is like. And I'm not saying that everybody that collects art is spending bukus of cash right now, because a lot of people are kind of strapped, but the collectors that spend what art is worth, be it in whatever sector, music, acting, anything, those people are there, but they're not necessarily being reached because the arts are getting treated as some kind of like Little Orphan Annie project. So I would say the biggest thing that we can ask of organizational leaders would be that you present us as an asset, as a really serious asset. And I think based on what I know of your work, you already do that, which is for anybody else in the room listening, like always present us as an asset and our work as an asset, because it is. So that's that for me.
All right, this has been a lot of fun. Give yourself a round of applause for joining us here tonight. And also another round of applause for these rock stars. A lot of fun. Thank you for being here.
Can we get a round of applause for DJ Mav? Yeah. Best podcast.
At DJ Maverick on IG, but probably the best place is just to go to maverick.fm. And the podcast is Maverick Podcast.
So if you want to hear more about all of their stories and amazing stories, please follow DJ Mav Well, I just want to give one more shout out to OKC Maverick, Juliana, and Steve. Thank you for making space for these conversations. And again, Angel, thank you so much for hosting us. Have fun, and we'll see you next year.
Check
in.
On Happy New Year.
I got you.